Sometimes at No Gray Areas, we love to simply share human interest stories. This week, after celebrating Memorial Day this past weekend, we have a powerful human interest story of a young Marine who had a tragic accident in his recovery process that took perseverance, tenacity, and courage. It's a story that will inspire and motivate all of us. Patrick MacDonald, thank you so much for being on No Gray Areas. The week that this drops is actually the week right after Memorial Day. So we just celebrated Memorial Day, and as our audience is going to find out, you're retired Marine, wounded. They're going to hear all that story in a little bit. But let me just, first of all, say thank you for your service.
No, thank you. I'm happy to be here. I'm glad to be on the podcast and happy to share the story a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we really mean that, especially on this week, remembering that. But what does Memorial Day mean to you now, or is it different since you've served, and especially as the audience is going to hear, you've been wounded, and the whole story we'll hear in a moment, but has it changed for you?
I don't know if it's changed for me. My understanding of Memorial Day has changed. There's 3 different military appreciation days throughout the year, right? You've got Veterans Day, you've got Memorial Day, and you've got Military Appreciation Day. Mm-hmm. So each one of those days, especially for military members and their families, carries a different weight, right? Veterans Day is when we celebrate everybody who got out. Everybody who's ever served at any time. Military Appreciation Day is when we should focus on the active duty guys. Mm-hmm. Memorial Day is when we focus on those who are no longer with us, regardless of how that is. And so Memorial Day always hits a little bit harder for those of us that are in, or have served, because it carries some punch, and it hits hard. And there's a lot of times when you'll see guys and they'll spend their Memorial Day out at a cemetery. Mm-hmm. They won't leave. They'll go to Arlington and they will sit there for 12 hours. Yeah. But that's just how they are going to live their life. Yeah. Because when you lose your brothers or your sisters, that doesn't go away. Yeah. And so it carries a different weight now. I don't know if it's changed, but I have a different understanding of all 3 of those days.
Well, and that's why I asked Patrick, because I'm assuming that's the case. You know, we as Americans, we honor the military, and especially Memorial Day, those that have lost their lives or sacrificed their lives for that. But it's probably hits a little closer to home. I mean, sometimes you may know someone, or so it's different for you. So
absolutely,
yeah. Well, we really do appreciate that. And
thank you.
So let's back up. Let's get a little bit of your story. So we're gonna eventually land on what you're going to do in June. I'm setting the audience up so they have to wait for this, because this is pretty cool what you're going to do in June. But we'll get there. But let me back up first of all. So why the Marine Corps? What did you decide on? The Marine Corps versus the other ones?
I always knew I wanted to join the military. There wasn't really ever a question about that in my mind and my family's minds. Once I had set my mind on that, it was just a matter of what branch. So my grandfather was in the Navy, and that was my first phone call. Yeah. I called him and I said, hey, I'm interested in doing this. I want to, talk about going into possibly the SEAL program. What do I need to do? How do I need to prepare myself? Can I have a conversation with you guys just to get to know what needs to happen here? And the first thing he told me was, well, I need your high school transcripts. I need these medical information. I need all of this. And I was like, I just want to have a conversation. I just have some basic questions.
Way too much for
exactly. I'm like, this is like, he's like, well, this is like, I can't even talk to you until I have this. And I was like, okay. So I hang up, go talk to my mom about it. My mom was she was not happy. Yeah. So she calls the recruiter's office.
The recruiter's probably never forgotten that call from your mom.
I guarantee she never has. Because how many times you get some Christian white lady who you'd never expect to get a phone call from, and all of a sudden she's like, you just had a conversation with my son, and my father was in the Navy, and I feel so ashamed of you right now. And he was like, oh, wow. And it was like, she didn't like yell at him. She just was like totally just made him feel bad. And I was like, this is awesome.
He would probably rather get reamed out by a drill instructor.
Absolutely.
Than your mom.
You'd rather get reamed out by your CO 10 times more than you'd ever rather get reamed out by a mom. And so the next day I drove down there, and the Navy door was right here, and right next to it was the Marine Corps door. And I was like, okay, I'm going in there. So I walked into the Marine Corps door, and I was like, hey, who can I talk to? And they're like, what school do you go to? And I was like, TCA. And they're like, him. And they pointed to a desk. I went and sat down, talked to him for 3.5 hours, walked out of there. A week later, I signed my enlisted papers. Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily.
So did you go in right out of high school?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Like how soon? Like you graduated high school?
2.5 months.
So you graduated high school, 2.5 months. You're on the bus heading to San Diego, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah.
Boot camps.
Yeah.
And it's like, you'll see like Army or Air Force boot camp. But with the Army and the Air Force, and I think the Navy as well, you get to have your phone there. You get to have weekends where you're not, you have time off. You're not leaving, but like we don't have any of that in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
You write letters, like handwritten letters.
I would be interested. I wish I could talk to your mom and find out what it was like because I remember watching my wife. It was very hard for her because we had 2 kids going through there, and you don't hear, you don't get phone calls, you don't get updates. They're going through hell, but you don't get to find out how things are going. Maybe every once in a while a letter, but yeah.
And it's a wild thing because the recruiters try and prepare you for it, and they try and say, hey, this is what we're going to be doing. Like, this is what you're going through. This is what's going to happen. You won't have any contact with the outside world. Yeah. But it's like, that's 3 months of that. Like, I talked to my mom twice over those 3 months.
Yeah.
The only reason I got to do that was my senior drill instructor said, he's like, hey, if anybody gets a perfect PFT or a perfect CFT, so a combat fitness test or a personal fitness test. So that's either a 3-mile run, push-ups and crunches, or 880 meter run, call it the movement to contact, and then maneuver under fire, which is like basically an obstacle course with like ammo cans, and you throw grenades at the tennis ball. It's the stupidest thing ever. But you do that, and then you have ammo can lifts for the CFT.
Yeah.
And so those 3, and it's like if you get a perfect score for your age, you get a 300. 300 is a perfect score. And so like if anybody gets a 300 on their final PFT or their final CFT, I'll give you a phone call home from my phone.
And that meant a lot.
That means a lot. Like that's like gold.
So
that's
you did it?
I got a perfect CFT, and I thought I was gonna die that day. And every CFT I ran for score after that, I got a perfect CFT. And I completely attribute it to my senior drill instructor because it's like that first one, if you don't get a perfect one, you're probably not going to after that because it's just like, what you're capable of.
Yeah.
That was where my brain was like, okay, now I know I'm capable.
How long into boot camp were you when you did that, when you got to call home?
The first one was like, I don't know, 2 months in.
Okay, so it's still
yeah.
So that
and it was like 2 phone calls in like a week.
So tell the audience. So some of the audience may not be aware of the military. So how long is boot camp for?
Boot camp for the Marine Corps is 13 weeks.
Okay,
or
13 weeks.
For me, it was.
And then you finish it off with, that's kind of a new thing, right? What is that?
So now
your last 3 days?
Well, yeah. So it's the Crucible.
The Crucible.
And on the East Coast and on the West Coast, it's slightly different. It's the same time frame, the same parameters. It's just different climates and different terrain. So. But basically, we spend 3 days, 72 hours in on the West Coast. You're up at Camp Pendleton and you're hiking in the hills for all 3 days.
Yep.
You get about 6 hours of sleep over those 72 hours. Yep. And you have an MRE for each day.
Yeah.
So that's about 2,000 calories of intake a day.
Yeah.
And we hiked just short of 75 miles.
Yeah.
In those 3 days.
Both my kids' feet are still messed up from that.
Oh, absolutely. No, it's ridiculous. It's insane. But then on top of all the hiking and everything, you're doing like obstacle courses, and so they have like different.
It's like team,
team building stuff. Yeah. So typically, it's Medal of Honor recipients, Navy Cross, which in the Marine Corps and the Navy is just a step down from the Medal of Honor. And what they did, so they kind of try and recreate something similar to what that was.
Yeah.
In a training environment, and so that's what you're doing. You're doing all these different obstacles and all these different crazy things. On top of hiking, on top of no sleep, and then it all culminates with, at least on the West Coast, the Reaper. And the Reaper is a mountain that you climb that's basically straight up. I mean, it's near as makes no difference, straight up in the air. And you start at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and you hike out there, and you're miserable, and you're carrying 80 pounds on your back, and you're tired, and you're sore, and your feet have blisters, and you don't want to be here. But you get to the top of the Reaper and you're a Marine.
Yeah.
And the entire, every moment, everything you've ever been called leading up to this is, hey, you.
Yeah.
Or recruit MacDonald. You had to refer to yourself. I had to refer to myself in third person. Yeah. This recruit.
I'm never called a Marine.
I'm not me. I am this recruit.
This recruit. Okay.
This recruit. Like that is
certainly never called a Marine, right?
No.
Yeah.
For 3 months, you call yourself this recruit. You refer to yourself in the third person. Anytime you're talking to somebody that's even remotely higher than you. And then all of a sudden you do the Reaper and it's like, okay, congratulations. And it's the first time your drill instructors recognize you as another human being. And so it's always really impactful for everybody. I mean, there's not a dry eye on the top of the mountain. And your drill instructor walks up to you and he's got this little EGA in his hand. It's a little piece of metal and it's probably worth about $3. But that's the single most valuable thing I own by far. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because your drill instructor, the guy who's been torturing you for the last 3 months, and one of the few individuals that you truly hate in this world, walks up to you and he goes, "Congratulations, buddy."
Yeah.
And he shakes your hand and he hands you this EGA.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
This is the biggest moment of my life. And it's mind blowing. And then you hike back. The next 10-mile hike back is horrible. But you know that the chow hall is all yours.
Yeah.
So they open it up for like 2 hours for just the guys who have done just coming back.
Did you
from
get
the crucible.
Sick?
Oh, well, some guys did.
Yeah.
But you just sit there and
you
had
just enough self-control to
eat and you just
yeah.
eat.
So did you like boot camp? Was it a good experience for you, or was it love-hate relationship? What?
Yes and no. I think everybody kind of has. It's a gradual thing.
Yeah.
So it's like initially you absolutely hate it. You hate every second of it. And you're like, I do not want to be here. I do not want to be doing this at all. And then transitions into like, okay, this is actually not too bad. And then you have a bad day and you're like, why am I here?
Yeah.
And you're sitting there in your bed at night and everybody else is asleep and you're just like thinking about like, I should quit.
Lonely?
I should just, yeah. Oh, absolutely. You feel like you're the only person in the world.
Yeah.
And then you wake up the next morning and you look to your right and you look to your left and you're like, oh, these guys are also suffering with me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I can do this. And then, you kind of slap yourself out of it.
That's where that camaraderie comes, doesn't it? Where you suffered together, you achieve those things together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And suffering together is really what brings it all together, because it's one of those things that if you've ever suffered with somebody through a specific encounter, environment, whatever it is, you have this sense of family with them and this connection that will never be broken. Like, I mean, I could talk to guys that I haven't talked to in years from boot camp. Yeah. And it'd be like, we were never apart.
That's so true, because again, even if someone wasn't in the military, if there's something they went through, even through an emotional struggle, there was someone who walked through that with them during that time. There's a connection they have that's unlike any other, for sure. Yeah. So let's fast forward then. You're in the Marine Corps for about 4 years when this accident takes place, right?
Yeah, just shy of 4 years.
Okay. And you were in California and Texas, the two places you were stationed. And your job, you were telling me, MOS is
MOS
what they call it in the Marine Corps.
7051 as an aircraft rescue and firefighting specialist. So basically our job was to put out fires. Yeah. And if the need be, kill people. So. Yeah. Which is interesting, because that's what we were talking about when the duality.
Before we turn the mics on. Yeah, the duality of that, because you're trained like if a helicopter goes down, if you're in enemy territory, you're out there, you're putting out the fire and trying to rescue the people in the helicopter, but you're also shooting people that may be trying to kill you. So that's the duality of the thing you were trained for. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like when we're training, even outside of like MOS school, outside of boot camp, outside of everything, we try and create the single most stressful environment that people have ever encountered in training. Because once you know how somebody, works in a stressful environment, it's like, okay, hey, I know how to train you now. Yeah. I know what you need to work past and what we need to work on with you so that you're ready if we ever have to do this. Yeah. So it sucks in the moment. And when you're the new guy and you're just suffering, you're like, this is the stupidest thing ever. And then you sit back and like 3 years later, you're like, wow, I needed that.
Well, Patrick, this segues well into what we're going to talk about, because I'm convinced that suffering teaches us something in life that nothing else can. So whether you're suffering through training like you're talking about, but you ended up at another level of suffering in a way, because then you've been in for about 4 years. You're in 29 Palms. Is that correct? Which is in California, and you're training. Yeah. Right. So walk us through what happens.
We were in Yuma that week. It was I think it was a Friday. Yeah. So we were in Yuma. We were doing some firefighting training, and we'd done this like 5-6 times. So it was easy breezy. Go in, stay the night before, do the training Friday morning, hop in the cars, drive back. Yeah. Simple. So we're driving back. And they're like, okay, cool. Everybody's on leave. Like, your time is yours. When we get back, get in your cars, go, and you're on your weekend. We're like, awesome, sweet. So get back. I text one of my friends. I'm like, hey, let's go climbing. Like, I just need to get out of here. I don't want to be doing anything related to the Marine Corps. So we go into Joshua Tree, and we're like, basically the first rock that we find, we go to get on, and drive up to it. Look at it, and we're like, well, we could climb this from the front side, but there's a section in the middle that we didn't know how we could get past. We're like, let's see if we can climb around the back and like rappel down and look at that up close so we can see, all right, yeah, no, this isn't climbable. And then we leave. Yeah. So climb around the backside, get up there. It's pretty easy. Get our anchor set in place. And I'm the kind of person where I'm like, I set the anchor, I'm testing it, I'm going first. That's just the way it is.
How high were you? About
65 feet.
Okay.
So
that's a ways up there.
Yeah, clip in, get my rappelling device on there, and I hop over the wall, and I'm put my weight on the anchor, and I'm like, this thing isn't going anywhere. I'm good. So I start my rappel, get down to maybe 3 feet over the side of the wall. And, your rope jumps when you're rappelling because it just does. When you put tension on something like that, it's going to shift a little bit.
First few times that
Yeah,
scares
so exactly.
I've,
you're like, okay.
I've rappelled
and
a few times.
You're feeling it settle, and you're like, okay, we're good.
Yeah.
And so I start my rappel, and all of a sudden I'm just falling. Completely uncontrolled, just falling. And it was like instantaneous. So I had enough time to look over my right shoulder, and I turned this way, and it shifted my whole body. So when I hit the ground, I landed pretty much completely on my right butt cheek. Just completely obliterated it. And I landed on top of a rock, and then my feet slammed into the ground.
From
my head.
60, 65 feet?
About 60 feet, yeah. So
wow.
The initial fall was probably about 45,
mm-hmm.
45, 50. And then it was the extra tumble down that added.
So you hit that first time?
Yeah, so I hit a rock. So because it was like the rock went up, and so we're on the top of this part. So we hit at like the very base of this thing. So it's like probably a 45, 50 foot fall. And then you tumble. And so I landed on my butt and hit my head, and that's when I blacked out. Tumbled backwards, landed in a pit of gravel on my back. And I came to, my best guess is about 5 minutes later. I can only imagine what my climbing partner was going through in those few minutes.
Yeah.
And I've
probably think you're dead.
Oh, absolutely. Because she couldn't see me, for one. 2, she had no idea where I was, and she couldn't hear anything from me. Like I wasn't making a sound.
Yeah. So she's yelling to
she's
you
thinking,
or something.
She's thinking I'm gone.
Yeah.
And so I told my mom when I was in the hospital, and I actually don't remember this conversation. She's told me about it a couple of times, but I have no recollection of it. She goes, yeah, you said you basically were like, all right, Lord, you either take me right now or I'm waking up down there. And it was just a split second thought where it's like, okay, this is either it, I'm done, I'm gone, or I'm waking up and there's something else you want me to do here. And I woke up. And so I wake up and I just let out a groan, just trying to get my breath back, right? I'm completely winded. Who knows how long I've been unconscious. It was just like, and just a grunt. And she heard it and she came climbing down, ran down. And then I was able to, still don't know how to do this. I rolled over my right side, which was, after a while, we found out that was the hip that was damaged the most. So I rolled over my right side, crawled over to a rock, and picked myself up on top of it, and was kind of went to go put my weight on my knees to try and get up. And I just felt an absolute searing, burning pain go all through my right leg. And I was like, damn. So I thought I had dislocated my hip because, I'm like, I only felt a little bit. It wasn't that bad. And, I looked down at my leg and I'm bleeding a little bit, but I'm like, it's nothing crazy. My hip is all sorts of, I can just see it's all sorts of screwed up. I was like,
you can look at it.
Yeah, you can see your know what your leg looks like.
Yeah.
When it doesn't look like that, you're like, okay, something's wrong here. So I looked at that. I was like, I probably dislocated it. I could put some weight on my left leg, so I would do that until it hurt, and then I'd go back up on my arms. Jamie actually ended up running about a mile to get service on her phone. Call 911, tell them where we were, and run back. She had flagged down a couple of motorcyclists that were riding by, and they came over and they were helping me. And so it was like I would go until my arms were shaking, and then they would pick me up. And the way that the guy would pick me up, because he didn't know how to pick me up, but he would cut off my brachial artery, so my arms would go numb. And I'm like, okay, you can put me down now. So when I couldn't feel my arms, I'd go back down to my arms until they start shaking again, and then you pick me up. We did that for about 45 minutes or an hour.
Because you hiked into this place. So
it was right off the side of the road.
Yeah.
So it was just like, for this to happen in terms of a place, best place it could have happened, because she was able to just flag people down. They could come over and help me, and then she ran to go find service, and then came back.
So we're going to continue how you get out of there, but tell us about we have an understanding what kind of injuries you were dealing with. Like you eventually will find out what you're on the bottom of this cliff with what injuries.
Yeah. So the way I kind of introduce myself to a lot of people is I go, hey, I'm Patrick MacDonald. I fell 65 feet in a rock climbing accident, broke my pelvis, both my feet, my sternum, had a concussion at TBI. And they're like, what? What did you just say? Wow. And I'm like, hang on. So yeah, I broke my pelvis. I had spider webs of fractures all through the right side of my pelvis. Pubic symphysis was completely shot. I don't have an ischial tuberosity, so your sit bone, when you sit down, you feel like the bones of your butt.
Yeah.
Don't have it on my right side. So I can literally just tilt myself to the right.
It's gone?
No, it's gone. Doesn't exist. So on the bike, it's
I was just okay. We got to get because
we'll get into that.
I've spent a lot of time riding bikes. That's got to be okay. We'll come back to that.
So I don't have a sit bone on my right side. And then
can I go really quick? Was that just shattered?
Mm-hmm.
Is that
was basically turned to dust?
That's what you hit because that's that initial fall.
The initial impact.
Oh my goodness!
All on the issue tuberosity.
Okay,
so hit that, and then I broke both my feet. My right or my left heel bone broke in half because what happened was I landed on top of the rock, and then my head slung back, and my feet slammed forward. So my feet slammed into the rock in front of me.
Hard enough to just...
Yeah, my head hit the rock behind me, and I tumbled back.
Do you have a helmet on?
Nope. My helmet wouldn't have done anything. It would just shatter.
Yeah. But so still, though.
Especially climbing injuries.
Yeah. I mean,
so it was just like...
I can see why it's almost a miracle you're alive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So basically, the initial surgeries were like, put me back together, hold me together. And then we did a couple more where I have 2 screws in my left heel. I've got about 8 screws in a plate in my hips, holding everything together, but I've got one big one that's about 7-8 inches long that goes straight through my SI joint. So I have no mobility in my lower spine at all. So if I like reach over and touch my toes, that is all hip mobility. That's not my back.
So your lower spine,
it's basically fused. Yeah. So like where your sacrum and your spine meet. So where your sacrum and your iliac meet is called your SI joint, your sacroiliac joint. Yeah. Mine was broken, right? So my SI joint and that fusion between the left and right sides of my pelvis was broken. And so when they would roll me and they'd turn me onto my side, I could feel my hips shifting because I had some wounds on my backside that they had to check every day and sometimes multiple times a day.
So you mean after they did the surgery, you're doing that? That's so not like after the accident. You're feeling everything
so this
shifting?
So like surgery, it's just like a week afterwards. I'm still in the hospital. I'm in the bed. They're having to roll me onto my side. And I could feel my pelvis shifting. And I'm like, hey, doc, I know this is probably not normal. And he's like, yeah, we're going to look at that. So we did, MRIs and everything. But they ended up putting in a massive bolt. It's like an inch away from my spine.
So when you go through airports, you definitely set off the...
Well,
you got a lot of metal in you.
I flew out to Denver like last weekend. And I go through the big scanner thing. And they're like... I was like, yeah, I know. I have metal in my hips. And they're like, Jim, I was like, no, I don't. You can pat me down. He's like, I was like, just get it over with. He's like, okay.
I'm sure every time you fly, right?
So I avoid flying now. I just try. If I can avoid it, I do. And I'll just drive.
I can't imagine when they look at the screen.
They're like, it's just like a super dense piece of metal on my hips. And they're like, does this guy have like a gun on him or something? And they're like, I'm like, guys, I can show you the
x-rays. You will never
not
not get patted down for sure.
Yep. So now,
so this injury happens and they're dragging you back to the car.
Yeah. So I just sat there. I literally just sat like 5 feet away from where I landed for better part of 45 minutes.
Were you in a lot of pain?
Oh, absolutely. But it was just like, I was in the beginning stages of shock. So I couldn't really feel the pain in my hips as much. My head was obviously pounding, but like, I just didn't really know what was going on. I was like, okay, your body just goes into survival mode. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to hold myself up until I can't and then have somebody pick me up until they can't. And then they'll put me back down and we'll keep going. And ambulance showed up and there was a new guy on the rig and I'm sitting there and I've been holding myself up on my arms for, an hour. And so my veins are just blowing up right now. And he's like, yeah, I want to get your BP reading and get an IV on you. And I was like, that's not going to happen, dog. I was like, let's get me on a board first. Let's get me out of here first. And he's like, well, no, I need to get a BP. And I was like, okay. And he's like trying to figure out how to get this BP cuff on me. And he's looking at my veins. And then one of the more senior guys from the rig walks around the corner. And he's like, why is this guy not on a board yet? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. You got the new guy that day.
Yeah. The new guy showed up. And the guy's like, what are we doing? Like, get him off of his arms. Like, you can't get a BP reading. Yeah. He's flexing his muscle. And they're like, oh, okay. So they lay me down. They had to put me on a half board. So I don't know if you know what that is, but basically it's supposed to be half your body because I couldn't extend my right leg at all. I tried to. Like, they put me down on the board. They're like, okay, we're going to flip you over. I was like, that's not going to work, guys. They're like, what do you mean it's not going to work? I was like, I can't move my right leg. Like, it was stuck at 90 degrees. I tried to. It was so painful. Bent. Yeah, so it was bent at 90 degrees, and it was so painful to try and move it that.
Is that because of all the stuff in your hip? And
well, yeah, because all the muscle attachments and everything was screwed.
Tore all that stuff up.
So I couldn't move my leg. And so I'm sitting there on this backboard. They like cut my pants off, cut my shirt off, cut my harness off, cut everything off of me. And like both my feet are just ballooned up. So they're like trying to see if there's any way they can save my shoes, my climbing shoes. I'm like, I don't care about it. Just get them off. So cut everything off of me. I'm laying there half naked on this backboard. My head's like this. And my right leg's sticking up in the air. And this junior paramedic walks up again and he goes, hey man, I need to put you in a C-collar. And I'm like, see that? That's your cervical spine. It's twisted. I'm like, that's going to do nothing but put my nose in this board. And he's like, I'm sorry, I got to do it. And I was like, all right, go for it. So I like pick my head up and they like put the C-collar on me and I put my face back down. And the head paramedic who's, working on something else turns back around and he just laughs. He's like, get that thing off of him. I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
And take it off. And I put my head and he's like, he's been holding himself up, turning like, if he had a neck injury, we'd know about it by now.
Yeah.
And putting a C-collar on him now is not going to do anything, just make him uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so they drove me about 5 minutes down the road and the helicopter came and landed. And the last thing that I remember is hearing the flight medic come over and they're talking and they're chatting. He's like, yeah, we're just going to dose him up with ketamine and throw him on the bird. And that's the last thing I remember. Because then they injected me and I was out.
You were out.
I was on cloud 9.
Yeah.
I was not here.
Yeah.
And then we landed. I have a very, very, very brief memory of landing at the hospital. I'm back on my back. I don't know how I got there. And the flight medic looks over me. He's like, hey, you're going to be okay. I'm like,
yeah.
And then I wake up like a day and a half later in the ICU.
Yeah. Then the long road to recovery then.
Yep.
Like how long?
So I was in the hospital for like inpatient for like 6 weeks. And then I was in a wheelchair for 3 months and then started to relearn how to walk. And that was all outpatient on hospital grounds.
Yeah.
And then once I relearned how to walk, they were kind of like, okay, we're going to send you up north to Camp Pendleton to Wounded Warrior Battalion. You're going to spend your time over there doing recovery.
Yeah.
And I was there for like 2 weeks. Met a couple people that I knew. And then one of my buddies, they have all the adaptive sports programs. And he comes to my room and he bangs on my door. It's like 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I don't want to do anything today. He's like, you're coming on a bike ride. I was like, I don't want to go on it. Like, I can't sit on a bike. I don't have a sit bone on my right side. There's no chance.
Did you have a background with biking? You tell me
mountain biking when I was a kid, but nothing crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like I'd never gotten on a road bike. I'd always been like,
because this is important for the audience to catch right now, because this is leading into what you're going to be doing here shortly. So he tells you to let's go out on a bike ride, and you're like, I don't have. Yeah. What do you call it? I was going to call it a butt cheek bone.
I don't have a sit bone. It's like I don't have a sit bone on my right side. I can't sit on a bike seat. Even if I could, it'd be so incredibly painful that I'm like, this would not be worth it.
And then the hip movement, I would think.
And where he's like, no, there's a way we can get you on a bike. Like, let's just go try it. If you spend 10 minutes on it and you hate it, then we're done. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. So I go out there with him, and they put me in a recumbent bike. So it's basically a trike where you're laying down. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I was in a fighter jet.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the greatest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I was like, this is awesome. When can we do this again? And Brad, who's the cycling coach at Wounded Warrior, he goes, well, Quentin and I ride every day at 9, and then we do another ride at noon. And I was like, okay, well, I won't take your guys' ride at 9, but I'll come at noon. And so every day from then on, started riding at noon. Yeah. Well, the Marine Corps trials was the thing that was going on there. And so we started having fun, and Brad's like, hey, you want to do trials? Like it's all the talk about at Wounded Warrior when trials are about to come up.
The trials for?
It's the Marine Corps trials. It's for Warrior Games, basically, but it's just a competition.
Yep.
It's supposed to be fun. And then based off the results of that, they select the team for Warrior Games.
Yeah.
And so I was like, yes, sure, I'll do it. And they're like, okay, well, they would like to have people do a couple different sports. So if you can figure something out, go for it. And I'd been doing archery for a little bit while I was there, just as like it was a great mental health thing for me, because it forced me to slow everything down. And cycling is fast.
Yeah.
You're not going slow, even if you are going slow.
Yeah.
And you're thinking about a lot of different things, and you're always worried about something. So it's like a very stressful type of environment. And so I did archery where it was like, okay, I really have to like center myself and focus and think. And it made a huge difference in my mental recovery because it just let me
Yeah,
and
because
forced
you
me
were
slow everything
you were
down.
dealing with the TBI. It's a
Mhm.
traumatic brain injury, right?
So my brain was mush,
Yeah,
especially those first 6 to 8 months.
yeah.
And so having cycling and having archery and having all these sports in the background were just phenomenal. And then on top of physical therapy and speech therapy and all
It's
that.
helping a lot. Did it help being with other wounded warriors? Did
Absolutely.
it help? Because I think that's why they do that, right? So you're with other people that are dealing with some of these similar injuries or different injuries.
Yep. So my buddy, one of my best friends now, his name's Quentin Numberger, lives out in Georgia. He's actually going to become a police officer here soon. He was in a motorcycle accident. He was racing completely above board. Marine Corps all knew about it. It was great. He'd done it before. He never had an issue. The O-ring on his oil filter, just not sure what exactly happened, but it failed. Started spewing oil all over his back tire. He high-sided and broke his back. So he's got 2 metal rods going up and down his spine. And so he was there. Our injuries, our accidents were actually within a week of each other.
Did you know each other before this? Okay, so
never met.
You
we
meet him
never
there.
interacted with each other, but our injuries happened within a week of each other.
Yeah.
And so then all of a sudden, he'd been to Wounded Warrior a little bit before I had at Camp Pendleton.
Yeah.
So I got there, and we were in the same squad.
Yeah.
I had the same squad leader, I had the same section leader, and so we're like, okay, cool. You know, you just kind of get to know those
This
guys.
goes back to the camaraderie we were talking about earlier,
Exactly.
right? Like you
And
go through suffering together. And,
And well, you meet somebody, and it's like when you go to a new unit, you just kind of like, you're like, okay, well, hey, like I'm not going to be antisocial because all these guys are here and they hate it too. So like, why not? Let's just get to know each other. So he was like, yeah, come on a bike ride. Come on a bike ride. And he kept pressuring me. And I was like, no. And then the one day you're coming on a bike ride today, and there's nothing you can say that's going to stop me. And I was like, fine. And I fell in love with it.
So did you compete in the games? Did you compete with both archery and biking?
And swimming.
Yeah. Okay. And then did you, because I know you end up going to the Invictus Games.
I did, yeah.
Which is a huge deal. Again.
Yeah, that was all like last second.
Our audience
like, we
needs
didn't
to know,
like
I need to tell the audience, you need to go Google the Invictus Games and find out what this is.
No,
because
please do.
This is big.
Please do, because Invictus is amazing. And it's one of those where, you know, until you actually go, you're like, oh, that sounds cool. And like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And it's kind of this like far-fetched, out of reach idea. And then all of a sudden it's like, you get the phone call and they're like, hey, you want to go to Invictus? You're like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Because the year before that, 2021 was, so my accident happened August 21st of 2020. And then 6 months later was Marine Corps trials. So March of 21. I had gotten on a bike for the first time earlier in March, like 2 weeks before trials.
Wait, so you're 6 months out from your injury?
I'm 6 months out of breaking my pelvis, both my feet, having a concussion, TBI. I've just relearned how to walk in the last month and a half, and I'm getting on a bicycle. Then 2 weeks later, I'm in a bike race at Wounded Warrior Battalion.
This is crazy.
Oh, yeah. And I'm in a trike. So I've never done this before.
Yeah.
Like, this is not remotely comfortable for me. I'm like, I don't know how I'm doing this all. And so then we get done with trials, and Brad comes up. He's like, okay, we're going to try an upright bike for you today. Because if you get selected for Warrior Games, I want you on an upright bike because you're going to be so much faster. And you can win this thing. I was like, okay. So we tried it, and it worked out. We didn't think, neither one of them were like, this is going to be like, we're going to spend like weeks trying to figure out how I'm going to be able to sit on this bike. And it just worked.
You got it
immediately.
figured out.
It was just like, oh yeah, this is
okay.
fine.
Before we go on though, you got to tell me, is it pretty weird? Like we were talking about that earlier. You're sitting on the bike seat,
so
missing.
Right, a bike saddle is not. It's not a significant thing. I mean, you're basically sitting on a massive, on a very small V, right? And what's supposed to hold you up is your 2 sit bones.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have one of those on my right side. So when I sit down, regardless of where I'm sitting, my hips shift a little bit to the right. So I have to either overcorrect that with my back or overcorrect it with my core, which ended up helping me a lot because all of a sudden, now I'm sitting on this bike seat and I already have the core strength that most people don't have because every day of my life, I'm having to
do that now for
the last 6 months. So we get on the upright bike and it just works, and we get me pedals and we get going and start training. And unfortunately, Warrior Games at the end of 2021 got canceled because of COVID. They did a virtual challenge where we were racing on trainers, but they didn't set any parameters. So they're like, yep, you just got to go this distance. They didn't tell us, resistance, anything. We're like, okay, so we're just going to put the resistance at 0, and you're basically riding this race downhill. So my average speed was about 42 miles an hour.
You're just spinning out.
I just I mean, we got me spinning up, and Brad's looking at me. He's like, dude, you're going to finish this way too fast. I was like, yeah, I really don't care. And so we get going on the race, and I'm cranking, absolutely cranking. My speed on my little computer in front of me is saying like 45 miles an hour, 48, and I'm like trying to hit 50. And I look down, and I'm like, oh, I'm like quarter of a mile away from being done, and 7 minutes in. Like, this is supposed to take like 15, 20 minutes at least. 7 minutes in. And I'm like, okay. And I look at Brad, and he looks at my computer, and he goes, well, push. I was like, okay. Crank it up another gear, keep pushing, finish, and write my time down. I think it finished in like 7 minutes and 38 seconds. I think it was like a 15 or 18 mile race. I finished in like 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And they're like, what?
Yeah.
What? And everybody was shocked. And there was another guy who was like more able than I was, who was riding just next to me. And it took him 7 more minutes to finish. And it was like,
wow.
And I'm just thinking about that math. I'm like, that didn't work out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get done. And one of the athletic trainers who was there pours like water bottles all over my head, trying to cool me down. Because we're outside in California in August.
Yeah, it's hot.
It's
hot.
not a cool place to be. And so they're dumping water over everybody's heads, and we're done. And we kind of stopped riding after that because we're like, games is done. We'd been training for games. We wanted to go win medals, and they didn't give out any medals for the virtual challenge. We're like, this is really stupid. And then come January, I get a phone call from our one of the guys who works at Battalion, who's an amputee. And he goes, hey, you know what Invictus is, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, there's an opening on the roster. You want to go? Yeah.
You didn't have to think about it?
I was like, yeah. He's like, okay. I was like, when? I was like, what is it, next year? He's like, it's in April. So I'm like, so I have 3 months.
This is kind of like your recovery time too.
It's like I flip it all back around because I haven't been riding for the last 3. And so I was like, well, crap, let's go. And so I go talk to Brad. I'm like, hey, I'm going to Invictus. We got to start now. And so we just jumped right back onto the bike.
Where was Invictus that year?
Invictus was in not in Amsterdam.
Did they move it around?
Hague. Yeah, so it moves around. This upcoming year, this year it's going to be in Dusseldorf. Okay. So I'll be there. I'll just friends and family. So I'll be cheering everybody on.
Yeah.
So.
Which an Invictus game, so I wrote down, I looked it up. Invictus actually means unconquered. I love their little phrase, we came, we saw, we're unconquered.
Yes.
So we usually think we came, we saw, we conquered, but we're unconquered, which is kind of the idea of it, right? Is you're saying, hey, I have this injury, but it's not going to conquer me. It's not going to win.
Yeah. So Invictus is actually the name of a poem. I don't remember the name, the guy who made the poem, but in the poem it says, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And I may be flipping those two, but it's along those lines. And basically that's kind of the whole mindset about Invictus. Unconquered is the exact same thing. And so there's actually teams at Invictus, especially for the team sports, that are team unconquered. And so it's specifically for countries that are taking part that are not able to field a whole team for whatever that sport is. So rugby, volleyball, or basketball. And there's an unconquered team. And for some sports, there's 3 unconquered teams. For some sports, there's none. And so you take part in Team Unconquered, and they pull people from all the other countries who are just extra athletes who wanted to play the sport, but maybe didn't get selected for the team. And you get to play. So they're wounded
warriors that are playing.
And you're playing with people from 6 other countries.
That's amazing.
It's so cool. And they call it Team Unconquered. And one of my buddies was able to be on the Unconquered team for Ukraine for volleyball and rugby.
Wow.
So that was really cool.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
So Patrick, take us back though to what was the lowest point for you?
There was a couple.
Yeah. Tell us about those. So you probably, I'm assuming it was in that recovery time.
Yes. Yeah. So it was kind of all over the place. There was like 5 or 6 different times when you're just like, I'm just hating life right now. The first ones are when I was in the hospital and I'm sitting there by myself. I couldn't have any visitors because this is peak of COVID. I mean, it's August of 2020. Nobody can come visit me. Like my dad can't come. My mom can't come. The guys that are literally sitting outside in the parking lot can't come inside.
Wow. So you're just sitting in there all alone.
Sitting there all alone. All I have is the nurses. I'm in ridiculous pain and they're super busy. And so it's like every once in a while somebody's coming in and checking on me. And so I'm just miserable. And
how long after your injury is this? This is
like 3 days.
Oh, so
so for the first week and a half after I fell, I had no visitors. I didn't.
So you're dealing with all this stuff emotionally, physically, and you have no one
all by myself. I didn't eat for a week. I drank water. I had drugs. That was it. Absolutely insane. And then I was waiting for surgery. Part of that was I was waiting for surgery for 3 days because I had a hematoma, which is basically a massive pool of blood inside my abdomen that was the size of my stomach and my liver combined. So big pool of blood about that big, just sitting inside of my body. And they were like, we cannot operate with that there because we don't know what's causing it, if it's still bleeding.
Yeah.
And if it is, you could just bleed out.
Yeah.
And it's like, we'd rather have you bleeding internally and we can actually try and figure out what that problem is because you're not dying yet. Like, you're close, but you're not there yet. I was like, thanks, doc. Yeah. Like, what?
Thank you.
Yeah. And so then eventually they're like, hey, bleeding has slowed down. It's not critical. We can go in and operate. So they went in and they put the bolts in my hip. They put like 3 or 4 in my right hip. They put a plate at my pubic symphysis and like 4 screws in there to hold that together. And that was the initial surgery. And that was 3 days after the fall. And so I was just sitting there with nothing for 3 days. Yeah. And they were turning, like I said earlier, they were turning me like 2 or 3 times a day to clean the wound that I had.
Yeah.
So,
which wasn't comfortable.
Some of the most miserable moments of my life.
Oh.
And so then once they did the initial surgery, I got a little bit better. Once I was stable at that point, a few days after that, they transferred me to Balboa.
Yeah.
And the darkest day for me, and my mom will say the same thing. So she flew out and met me in Balboa. So she got there later the same day that I did. There's an ambulance that was coming to pick me up. I was supposed to get flown from Palm Springs to San Diego. Basically, the government was like, no, we're not going to pay for that because it's not necessary. He's already had a life flight. Like, he doesn't need that again. He can take an ambulance. But because it was so last second that they said that, they didn't get an ambulance with a medic on it. So if you don't have an ambulance with a paramedic on it, they can't administer drugs. So I had a 4.5 hour ambulance ride at midnight in California from Palm Springs to San Diego with no medication drugs at all.
Oh, man.
Not like, oh, they can slip me some aspirin or they can slip me nothing. So they gave me Dilaudid when I left and they gave me Dilaudid when I got there, but I had nothing for 4.5 hours.
Into that
the last hour was hell on earth.
Yeah.
Complete hell on earth.
Oh, man.
So we get in to Balboa at about 3:30 in the morning. And they take me in. They're doing like intake stuff with me, getting me all set up till about 4:30. I go to sleep. An hour and a half later, first doctor walks in my room to start asking me questions and start doing his for normal rounds of the day at 6 o'clock in the morning. I've had like an hour and a half of sleep after the single worst night of my life. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I really don't want to do this. I don't. And they're like, okay, well, go ahead, go back to sleep. We'll come back in a little bit. And I was like, sweet. Like, immediately, just gone.
Yeah.
And so they come back 45 minutes later. Same thing. I'm like, guys, come on. Really? Are we doing this?
Which is kind of the life in the hospital, right? Just constantly.
Well, it's even worse in the military. Yeah. Because what happens is all the underlings come in and talk to you beforehand.
Because they're all getting trained.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So they want to have all the information so that they can then brief their chief on what. And so I'm like, so I have 6 people coming and talk to me before 8 a.m. And then all of them come back in at like 8:30. And I'm like, why couldn't we have just done this now and let me sleep? Mm-hmm. And the surgeon was like, yeah, why didn't you guys? And they're like, well, this is how we always, they're like, didn't you look at his chart and see that he got in at 4:30 in the freaking morning? And then, so they were not happy. The corpsmen were not happy. It was a whole thing.
This is when your mom comes in?
So my mom doesn't get in until later that afternoon.
Yeah.
So that whole day was tests. So it was MRIs, it was X-rays, it was CT scans, it was every test you can imagine. Basically, it was the first time I was at a military hospital. So they wanted to get everything from top to bottom. They wanted it all documented out. So I did something like 65, 70 X-rays that day.
Oh my goodness.
They did 2 MRIs and a CT scan.
Man, I imagine all this was just wearing on you, right? Like it's just building.
It's just a mental drain because I'm just pale. I'm exhausted. I'm drained. I've got no life left in me. And
is this the first time your mom sees you?
Yeah. And I roll back into the room. My mom's right there. That's the first time any of my family members have seen me since. And she's like, I thought you were dead. She's like, I thought you were dead.
I imagine for her,
I
this
can
is
only
probably
imagine.
one of the worst days of her life too.
Yeah.
Then.
So
Wow.
we call that day hell day.
Yeah.
Because it was mentally, emotionally, physically draining in every way possible.
Well, you're doing something pretty. So you've been in the Invictus Games, and then you and your brother are doing something pretty cool here this next month, right? So you're headed to.
Yeah. So we're headed to Iceland.
Yeah.
In June, and we're gonna be. I'm gonna be doing a lap of the island on my bike. And so
you make it
filming.
A lap. You make it sound like
it's
a quarter of a mile.
And like, no, it's 1,100 miles in about 8 days, and it's gonna be a lot.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a lot. But it's all part of a documentary that we're making about me and my story.
Yeah,
and we're basically trying to focus on the recovery aspect of it, and then from there, really dive into like the mental health piece.
Yeah,
and how it happened for me. It's like my darkest day was that hell day. Mm-hmm. My darkest moments were the times when I put a gun to my head and I was like, I'm done with this. I am done with this.
You were at that point.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Multiple times. So that's actually why I have this tattoo, and that's why I have this tattoo.
Yeah.
Because the Ace of Spades was a huge thing for me in my recovery, in my mental health side of things. Because I went to mental health and they're like, hey, you sound like you would benefit from having like a physical reminder. Something with you, whether it's with you every day or you just see it in the morning, whatever, where you can remind yourself, I am the most important person in my life right now. And that needs to be constant.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I pretty much always am wearing a hat. So I got an Ace of Spades, which is the highest card in the deck of cards. And I put it in my hat.
And that represented the importance of you.
And I would take my hat off and I'd fix my hair and I'd look at it and I'd put my hat back on. And it was just a super mundane act that nobody ever noticed, nobody ever thought of. But it was just something that I could do. If I was ever in a bad mental place, even remotely starting to go downhill, I just look at my hat.
Yeah. Well, Patrick, and you're saying, amazing. And I don't want us to miss this, you're saying you were in that bad spot a number of times.
Oh, yeah,
really
absolutely.
Low spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you guys, part of your story then is to tell that, is to help people understand that whole process that you did.
It's always there.
So how would people find you or this story if they wanted to follow you? Are we able to?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So the film is pmthefilm.com. Kellen's actually publishing the website today as we're recording this. So it's pmthefilm.com. No caps, no spaces.
pmthefilm.com. Okay.
That's the website. And then
we have the Instagram. Same initial. So are you sure this isn't about me? Patrick
we're going to find out.
Patrick MacDonald.
I may just use you for some like professional photos. I wish I was that, Jack.
I can't ride bikes as fast as you. Trust me.
We'll Photoshop.
Yeah.
He's a photographer for a reason. Right? We have an Instagram that is PM. The handle is at PM.PRJECT.
Okay.
And that's the PM project. Okay. And then
we'll put this in the comments.
And from there you can
find comments below when we post it. Yeah.
Yeah. You can find my Instagram. You can find Kellen's Instagram from there. You can find all of those. But those are the two big ones for the project.
And then we'll be able to like actually follow your progress.
Yeah. So we'll be posting.
So we'll be dropping this about the time you're starting.
Yeah. Well, so it'll be a little bit. So we won't be getting to Iceland until middle of June.
Okay.
Like
good.
June 14th or so. Then. Yeah.
So when this drops, you're going to be starting there about a week or so after that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll be riding in. Actually, when people are hearing this, we'll be riding in Colorado. And I'll be training, and I'll be doing Vail Pass. And I'll be riding in the mountains up there.
Yeah.
To get ready.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It's
gonna be a lot of fun. Congratulations to you, and this story needs to be told for sure because. Like you said, you have an understanding of some of this stuff that no one else can. People that have been in that kind of world or struggle with that, and the mental health part of it probably coming back. Like you said, you've had a lot of low points.
Yeah, the mental health part of it is really something we're trying to focus on because there's, like I said earlier, with Tennessee has they have doubled the veteran suicide rate.
Yeah, we were talking about that before we turned this on, right? Or was it on this? So there's double.
Yeah, they have the highest veteran suicide rate in the country, and it's double the national average.
Yeah,
it's insane, and so
suicide that is heartbreaking to me to think that the people that went into the service to help serve our country, that suicide rate is horrendous, and something has to be done.
It does.
We have to change that.
Yeah. So I know the governor of Tennessee is really trying to focus on that. The VA in Tennessee is trying to focus on that. I know one of the guys who's trying to work into that program and trying to work through it. But I mean, suicide is just, it's a taboo thing. Nobody wants to talk about. Nobody wants to sit down and have the tough conversation and say, yeah, I was at that point. I was at that point a couple of times when I was ready to just end it all right then and there. And there were times I'd be driving down the highway and there'd be a semi truck going the other way. I'd be like, I could just.
It crossed your mind. Yeah.
Every time. And it's a constant thing. And once it's there, it doesn't leave. You just get better at handling it. And so it's one of those things where you really have to focus on how am I going to work through this and work past this every single day of my life.
Well, so you're saying that's you haven't like.
Oh, it's never left me.
It's not
the
left
idea.
You, so you're still having to work through this and deal with this.
The thought is still there every day.
Yeah.
And it's never in the moment when you think, it's like, it's never, you hear some sad news, or it's just like, you feel like you're having a good day. And then all of a sudden it's like, you see something, you hear something, some noise or something just triggers something in your brain. And you're like, whoa.
And Patrick, what they're finding, right, is, certainly it's multifaceted on the reasons of that, but TBIs are certainly part of it. Traumatic brain injuries, that is one of the things that anybody that's gone through those deals with. And so, again, a lot of the wounded warriors are wrestling through that and dealing with. That's an ongoing battle that they have, as you're saying. So, man, appreciate that you're doing this. We are definitely going to be following you and cheering for you. And thanks for sharing your story.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
But we have to end with this. We always do it. It's a fun way we finish the 2 truths and a lie. So
okay. So I've got been shot in the back of the head. I met Prince Harry, and I have no feeling in the bottom half of my right leg.
I'm going to say the no feeling in the bottom of your leg. That's true.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's actually both legs. So from my knee down, I have dead spaces in my entire left leg where it's like
your foot and everything.
Oh yeah, somebody could like poke me in my leg and I wouldn't feel it. It's the weirdest thing because sometimes I'll get twinges of feeling and it'll feel like there's like a bug on my leg.
Yeah.
Weirdest time it's ever happened. It was -5. I was skiing in Colorado like 6 months ago, and I thought I felt a mosquito on my leg. I was like, that's not possible. That's just not possible. You just
have these like phantom feelings, is
yes, but it's both legs, and my right leg is a little bit worse.
Okay, so that's true. So then I'm between two. You were shot in the back of the head, or you met Prince
Harry.
I'm going to say you met Prince Harry is true as well.
So, yes and no. I've seen him. I never actually met him. So
is that the lie?
Yeah.
Or did you set me up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have met him.
Yeah.
I've seen him from like
this
far away.
Okay.
Like he's 10 feet away from me. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Well, does that mean the first one is true?
Yeah. So in boot camp, actually it wasn't in boot camp, it was just afterwards. MCT, you do maneuvers under fire. And basically it's at night and you're firing and you're shoot moving and communicating all at the same time with guys. And everybody's got an active rifle. So I run up and I get down and I start shooting. Well, the guy that was behind me to my right got up, didn't have his finger off of his trigger, and it came and it grazed the top of my helmet, shot me, hit me in the back of the head, and went flying off. So I legitimately got shot in the back of the head.
Actually have, Patrick, you have a lot of things that you can say, this has happened to me and it's probably never happened to you. Like I got shot in the back of the head. I fell 60 feet. I mean,
well, that's the thing. It's like I was telling you before, I was like, I've got a couple of them, but it's like, I don't know which ones to use.
Those were good ones.
Yeah. So no, it grazed, the bullet hit my helmet and just grazed off. He didn't hit me square on. So I got really, really lucky. And he got a Spartan kick to the chest, and we never saw that kid again.
Yeah.
So,
hey, well, thank you so much, Patrick, and good luck to you this next month. We're going to be cheering you on, and appreciate your service again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. What an amazing journey that Patrick has had. And it's a reminder to me that every person we lay our eyes on, we really have no idea the struggles that they're facing or the struggles they've gone through. So if anyone you know, or maybe you even are struggling with some stuff, we would love if you would reach out to us. You can leave your comments below or especially email us at info@nograyAreas.com. And remember to like, follow, and subscribe.